I don't suppose you've come up with an idea for our tutorial presentation, have you?
Well, as a matter of fact, I have. I thought we could talk about the obvious differences we see between the sexes as children grow up.
Do you mean the differences we see between males and females as a result of the way they are brought up?
No, I mean the differences that exist from birth.
That sounds like a lot of work, Rose.
Not really. Do you remember in our first early childhood lecture, we were given a list of differences which were observed in male and female babies and toddlers in the UK?
I wasn't here for the first 2 weeks of the semester, remember? I had problems getting my passport.
Oh, that's right. Well, it was really fascinating. A group of behavioural scientists in England selected 100 children to observe over a very long period, 20 or 25 years. They were brought up in families who treated girls and boys in the same way, no special treatment for either of the sexes. They observed their play and their reactions to various situations, set up little tests, I suppose.
How old were the children?
The first observations were carried out when the babies were only a few hours old. They concluded that girls were more sensitive to touch than boys at that early age.
How did they end up with that conclusion?
Well, the lecturer didn't go into detail. I think he just wanted to get our interest, whet our appetite. There were lots of tests and observations done from soon after birth, right through to their early 20s. I thought we could investigate some of the case studies and then present the results in the tutorial.
Well, that's a good idea, Rose. It'll be interesting, but it will also give us the chance to collect information for our end-of-term assignment as well.
It'll also be a good opportunity to check out the resources available in the library. I haven't had the chance to spend much time there yet. Have you?
The last 4 weeks have just been so busy. And of course, I had to catch up on the 2 weeks that I missed. I haven't had the chance either. I've heard that the library research staff are really willing to help out.
Well, we can find out if that's true or not. We'll need to make an appointment to see them. Apparently they're in high demand.
We only have 2 weeks to prepare for this tutorial, so I think we should definitely start as soon as we can. Let's see the tutor this afternoon and tell him about our plan. If he agrees, we can get started on our research.
Okay, I'll go and see the tutor. You can make a booking at the library. Would it be possible to see Jim Clark, one of the early childhood tutors?
May I ask what it's about?
We have to get approval for our tutorial topics in EC 101.
Yes, I thought it might be about that. Unfortunately, Jim had to go to Sydney this week, but he has given me some specific questions to ask about the tutorials.
Oh, we were hoping to get started on our research. We've only got 2 weeks.
Don't worry. Jim's phoning in twice a day. If you give me the details, I can give you an answer by tomorrow morning.
That's great. We are planning to present some case studies that were undertaken by a group of...
Hang on. I just need a few short details. Let me see. I have to write down what the subject of the tutorial is.
Okay. I guess the topic is gender and when the sexes start to act differently.
So, is it about how male and female children are different? What can I write here, next to topic?
Well, what about how the sexes differ?
Okay, I'll put that down as your topic. Jim also wants to know the aim of your tutorial.
Well, there are 2 aims, I suppose. The first is to show how they differ, but the other point we want to make is that the differences are innate, not learned.
To show that differences between the sexes are innate, not learned. Right, that's the hard part. Now I need to know the date, time, and room of your tutorial.
It's in 2 weeks. Let's see. That'll be Tuesday the 26th at 11 a.m. We are in room B1203.
And do you need any AV material?
What does AV mean?
Audio visual. You know, TV, video, tape recorder, overhead projector, that kind of thing.
I hadn't thought of that. Guess we'll need an overhead projector. We haven't really started planning our tutorial yet. We just wanted to get initial approval from Jim.
Never mind. You can always cancel the projector if you don't need it. Jim will phone in the morning. Do you want to come and see me then? Or I can phone you if you like.
I have a lecture from 8 to 10 tomorrow morning, so I'll drop by after it finishes.
Right. I'll see you then.
Welcome to our examinations workshop. This is an annual event which we've found very helpful for first-year students like yourselves, and I hope that this year will be no exception. By now, you'll all have realized that studying at university is quite different to studying at school. Some of you might have been shocked at one time or another during the semester when you received results for your assignments that weren't as high as you'd expected. I trust that you've spoken to your lecturers and tutors and sorted out those issues. The truth is that the transition from school to university can be a difficult one. The academic standards are higher, and of course, there is considerably less supervision at university, and it's incumbent on the students to follow their own study regime. My aim today, though, is to help you to learn how to cope with the impending exam period by giving you some practical strategies to take with you into the exam. We've all known students who've had a good understanding of the subject material, yet failed exams or performed well below expectations. Likewise, we've known students that have, to all intents and purposes, done very little work and passed with flying colours. Often, these results can be put down to one thing: stress or a lack of it. Don't underestimate the importance that stress plays in exam performance. With any exam, you should front up feeling confident, relaxed, and organized. Rightly or wrongly, exams, in effect, not only test your academic ability, they test your frame of mind and your ability to perform under pressure. Stress has to be managed on two fronts: the physiological and the psychological. We all recognize that stress affects us physically. I'm sure you've all experienced an increased pulse, or sweaty hands or underarms, or shortness of breath when placed in a stressful situation. Sleeplessness can also be a problem around exam time. The most effective way to manage these physiological reactions is through controlled breathing, which we'll practice later. By controlling or regulating your breathing, you'll find that you can put yourself rather effectively into a relaxed state. Psychologically, stress affects the way you think. For an exam, you need to think rationally, and this is why you need to be confident and organized before walking into the exam. Continuing to think rationally after you read an exam paper which you know nothing about is very hard to do. But if you are organized and you've put in the time needed to learn the subject material, you will have the self-control you need to think rationally. Stress can make you panic, the worst thing you can do in an exam. Look at the question calmly and rationally dissect the question. And let's face it, even if you haven't prepared well enough, you'll still need to think rationally in order to do your best under those very trying circumstances. Just while I think of it, this is probably a good time to tell you a piece of advice that I give first-year students that come to see me. Don't rely on what other students tell you about the time they allocate to study. The reports we have had over the years have been ridiculously overestimated and underestimated. Follow your own study regime and don't listen to others. We're all different, so it stands to reason that the time we need to allocate to study will be different. Generally speaking, for every hour of lectures you attend, You will need another hour of follow-up or research work if you want to achieve good grades. Right, so where was I? We have to learn how to control our breathing, and we need to have enough confidence in our ability to be able to think rationally. Time management is another important factor that can make or break you in an exam situation. After you have gone through the breathing exercises, which you will be familiar with, read over the entire exam, noting the different marks and weighting of questions. Only after you have done this can you allocate your own time to each question. If I had $1 for every time a student has told me that they didn't do as well in an exam as they'd hoped because they'd run out of time, I'd be rich. If you can manage your time properly in an exam, you will reduce the amount of pressure that you're under. Anyway, note the different questions and their marks and allocate your time accordingly, as I said. Then, answer the questions that you know first. This serves to relax you further and gives you the confidence you might need to tackle the more difficult questions. However, don't spend too much time on the easy questions either. Always be mindful of the time restraint and the marks that are assigned to the question. In summary, to do well in an exam, you not only need the academic ability, you need to be in a relaxed state of mind with the ability to think clearly enough under pressure to allocate suitable time frames to questions. If you can equip yourself with these skills and train yourself to observe time management, exam success is almost guaranteed. We'll be holding a study skills workshop next week in the Language and Learning Centre to deal with ways in which you can study effectively for exams. You are all welcome, of course.